Oh, it was going to be such a beautiful day. Look at that bright sunshine. Water almost perfectly calm. Ducks flying around everywhere. A lot of young ones. Yeah, it was going to be nice. I was east of the city, out here by Milo. This is a slough that's right beside McGregor Lake. Always got interesting things there. This little guy is a young marsh wren. There was probably half a dozen of them bouncing around among the reeds, grabbing bugs wherever they could. A lot of young yellowthroats, too, and cedar waxwings. A big orb weaver spider had built its web among the hawkweed. Close by was a smaller one, maybe a mate. Sunflowers were blooming up along the dam at the north end of the lake, and you can probably hear the boat motors starting up as fishermen headed out. This fisherman doesn't need a motor. That's a loon. Most folks associate them with the mountains or lakes surrounded by forests, but no, they're right out here on the prairie too. Always great to see them. The water was pretty high in the lake, so there wasn't much shoreline for me to explore. But I found this pretty pink water smartweed and dozens of these little cabbage butterflies. They were probing around in the detritus that had washed up on shore. Sweat bees and hoverflies were all over the hawkweed. The day was getting warmer and warmer as I rolled east, and the sun was beating down on these cattle in a pasture by an old, tumble-down farmhouse. Cowbirds were everywhere, a lot of them panting in that warm sun. And over at the house itself, dozens of swallows. I'm really not sure why they were all milling around the house, maybe after bugs coming off the pond in the background. I made a stop at the Skull Fence by Lomond, always got to stop there, and then continued on further east past Badger Lake and over toward Bow City. There's a series of ponds over here that are mostly spring-fed, and the cows were enjoying them just as much as the ducks were. By now the temperature had gone all the way up to around 30 degrees, and I was ready to jump right in there with them. These ponds are a true oasis out here in the open prairie, and close by, lots of prairie plants take advantage of the damp. These are bee plants. Hardly any bees though, lots of butterflies. They were all over the place. And this little guy, a crab spider. They're usually well hidden, but this guy not so much. And in the shallows on the edge of the ponds, ibises. Look at the feathers on these guys. Every time they move, you get a different color. Used to be fairly rare, but these days they're really expanding their range, and you can find them all over the place in southern Alberta. The day just kept getting warmer as that glorious sun kept pounding down. And it was helping to ripen all those crops that benefited so much from the July rain. Some of them were being harvested, like these peas. But out here most of the fields were still standing tall, like this wheat. And the grasshoppers were enjoying it, these two particularly. By the time I found this little mule deer buck taking a pea in eating a pea in a pea field, the temperature had dropped all the way to 29 degrees. And now in late afternoon I was hot and sweaty and dusty. But I wouldn't have had it any other way, because now, after a couple of months of cool, wet weather, it actually felt like summer.